Tyson, what's your thoughts on Jake Paul, Mike Tyson? Obviously Mike's someone you've got great respect for, one of your heroes. Jake obviously boxed Tommy.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic event. Anyone who don't think it's a fantastic event is jealous.
Tyson Fury's reaction to Mike Tyson's fight with Jake Paul was shock and disappointment. Once a hero to Fury, Tyson's decision to step into the ring with a YouTuber like Jake Paul left Fury feeling betrayed. Was Tyson simply in it for the money, or was there something deeper behind this controversial fight? Fury's disappointment. Tyson sells out for money. Tyson Fury's reaction to Mike Tyson's fight with Jake Paul was one of shock and disappointment. Fury had always looked up to Tyson, seeing him as a childhood hero, a fighter who once ruled the ring with power and fear. But when Tyson stepped into the ring with Jake Paul, a YouTuber with little boxing experience, Fury felt betrayed. He couldn't believe that Tyson, a man who had once been unbeatable, was now fighting just for money. Fury saw the fight as a joke. To him, it wasn't about proving who was the better fighter, it was about cash. Tyson, once the king of the ring, was now just another fighter looking for a paycheck. Fury was crushed to see his idol like this. What made Fury even more upset was the way Tyson fought. It was clear that Tyson wasn't trying his hardest. He wasn't aggressive like he used to be. The punches didn't have the same power. The speed wasn't there. Tyson didn't seem like the champion who once scared opponents before they even stepped into the ring. Instead, he seemed like a man who was just going through the motions. Fury knew what Tyson was capable of, and what he saw in that fight didn't match the legend he had grown up watching. To Fury, Tyson didn't even look like he was fighting to win. It was painful for him to watch, knowing that Tyson wasn't fighting with his heart.
Shouldn't be boxing. Good luck to them. They're both going to make what I call a shit ton of money out of it.
The fight wasn't just disappointing because of Tyson's lack of effort, but also because of the money involved. Reports claimed that Tyson would make $20 million for the fight. That number stuck in Fury's mind. To him, it felt like Tyson had sold out. Fury couldn't understand why someone who had already made millions would risk their reputation for even more money. Tyson, who had already achieved greatness in boxing, was now fighting for cash instead of his pride. Fury saw the fight as fake. He didn't believe Tyson was fighting for anything meaningful. It wasn't about honor or legacy, it was about money. Fury couldn't help but feel that Tyson had ruined his own legacy for a quick payday. Fury didn't just think Tyson's decision was about money, he also believed it showed a bigger problem in boxing. The sport was starting to change. Tyson's fight with Jake Paul felt like it was more about entertainment than real competition. Fans didn't want to see a legend like Tyson reduced to fighting a social media star who had no business in the ring. Fury felt that boxing was losing its authenticity. It was becoming a spectacle, a way to make money rather than a place for real fighters to prove themselves. Tyson's involvement in the fight with Paul was a symbol of everything that was wrong with boxing in Fury's eyes. Tyson had been a fighter of honor, but now it felt like he was just another entertainer. Fury's anger came from the fact that Tyson didn't need this fight. Tyson had already made history in boxing, he had already earned enough money and had nothing left to prove. He had been the most feared fighter in the world. To Fury, there was no reason for Tyson to take this fight except for money. It was hard for Fury to understand why Tyson, who had already achieved so much, would choose to fight for a paycheck instead of the respect of his fans. Fury wanted Tyson to stay true to the sport, to show the world that boxing was about more than just making money, but instead Tyson was showing that he was willing to tarnish his legacy for a quick reward. What Fury saw in Tyson's fight with Paul was not just a disappointing performance, but a loss of what Tyson once represented. Tyson was a fighter who had earned respect through blood, sweat, and tears. He was the man who knocked out opponents without hesitation. But now, Tyson looked like a man who didn't care about the sport that had made him famous. He seemed more concerned with his celebrity status than with the art of boxing. Fury had worked his whole life to be a true boxer. He believed that boxing was about skill, heart, and the desire to be the best. Seeing Tyson take part in a fight like this made him question whether Tyson had lost that desire. For Fury, the fight was a symbol of everything that was going wrong in boxing. The rise of exhibition matches, celebrity bouts, and fights that seemed more like entertainment than actual competition were ruining the sport. Fury didn't like where boxing was heading. He believed that Tyson's fight with Jake Paul was just another example of boxing turning into a circus. Fans were no longer watching to see the best fight. They were watching the spectacle for the money. Fury didn't think that was what boxing was about. Tyson had once been the perfect example of what a boxer should be, but now he was just another part of the problem. Tyson Fury was heartbroken watching Mike Tyson fight Jake Paul for money, calling it a fake fight. But when Tyson was asked about his legacy, his shocking response left many stunned. He didn't care. So how could a legend like Tyson so easily dismiss the very thing that made him famous? Tyson's surprising answer: he doesn't care about legacy. Mike Tyson's answer about his legacy shocked everyone. Fans who once cheered for him, the man who ruled the boxing world, couldn't believe what they were hearing. Tyson, who had been a champion and a legend, said he didn't care about his legacy. He said the word legacy was just about ego, about wanting to be remembered. But Tyson made it clear he wasn't interested in that. He said, "We're nothing, we're just dust." This simple yet powerful statement made people stop and think, was Tyson telling the truth? Did he not care about being remembered?
He's had a past, I guess, you know. I feel like if you get hit up inside the head that many times, it kind of makes you a little bit crazy, but it's still very entertaining to watch, you know.
Mike, what do you think? Are you crazy?
I think
Oh
I
my
am.
God, what the
Absolutely.
Tyson's words hit like a punch. For so long, he had been the biggest name in boxing, feared by everyone who stepped into the ring. People called him the baddest man on the planet. He was a force, knocking out opponents in seconds, and the world watched in awe. Now he was telling everyone that none of that mattered. Legacy, history. To Tyson, they were nothing but distractions. At that moment, he didn't care about being remembered as the greatest boxer. He wasn't chasing the idea of a perfect, unforgettable reputation. He was focused on something deeper, something more real. This sudden shift in Tyson's attitude stunned the world. What happened to the man who once lived for the title, the glory, the fame? Could it be that after all these years, Tyson had figured out something the rest of us hadn't? Could it be that he realized that no matter how much fame and success he had, it would all fade away eventually? That's what he seemed to believe. Tyson seemed to have reached a point in his life where he no longer cared about being remembered. He wanted to live in the present, not the past. "We're nothing. We're just dust," Tyson said. That phrase felt like a punch to the heart. It made everything else seem so small, so temporary. Tyson was speaking with the wisdom of someone who had been through it all: the rise to the top, the fall from grace, the years spent searching for meaning. He had lost so much along the way, from money to relationships, from championships to freedom. Through it all, Tyson had seen how quickly everything could be gone. Fame, fortune, and even legacy were fleeting. And in the end, what really mattered? For Tyson, the answer was clear: nothing but the present moment. Tyson's view on legacy was shocking, especially for someone who had once been the symbol of success in the ring. But it wasn't just about boxing. Tyson's words spoke to something deeper about life itself. People often spend their whole lives chasing after things that don't last: titles, trophies, and recognition. They work so hard to build a name for themselves, to leave behind a legacy. But Tyson was saying that none of it mattered. What mattered was how you live right now, in this moment. He wasn't the only one who felt this way. Many people struggle with the idea of legacy. In today's world, where social media and constant attention are part of everyday life, it's easy to get caught up in how others see us. We worry about what we'll leave behind. But Tyson's message was clear: the past is gone, and the future isn't here yet. All we have is now. The more we focus on legacy, the more we miss the present, the only thing we truly control. Tyson wasn't trying to be a hero. He wasn't trying to teach anyone a lesson. He was simply speaking from his heart. And maybe that's what made his words so powerful. They weren't about glory or pride. They were about accepting the truth. Everything we do, every achievement, every title will eventually fade away. What matters is how we live today, how we feel in the moment, and how we embrace what we have.
It's hard to even explain it. That's just my life. It's just, I can't even explain why I have them. They've been in my life so long. It's just, that's what I do. That's my life. That's my outlet in life.
For many, Tyson's words were a wake-up call. They made people realize that perhaps they had been chasing the wrong things. Maybe, like Tyson, they needed to stop worrying about how they would be remembered and focus on what they could do today. Tyson had seen enough of life to know that the future is unpredictable and the past is already written. The only thing that mattered was living fully right now. Tyson's statement didn't just challenge how we think about athletes, it challenged how we think about life itself. In a world full of distractions, of endless striving for more, Tyson's choice to let go of legacy was a reminder that true peace comes from accepting who you are, where you are, and when you are. All the fame, the money, and the titles he had were just part of the story. In the end, none of it mattered. What mattered was the person Tyson was today, not the boxer he was yesterday. In the end, Tyson's words were not just a reflection of his own journey, they were a message for all of us. Life is short, and we can't waste it chasing after things that will fade away. Tyson had lived through the highs and the lows, and he had come to realize that chasing legacy only leads to disappointment. He had learned that it is far more important to live for today, to find peace in the moment, and to embrace the journey no matter where it takes you. Could Tyson's disregard for his legacy explain why the Jake Paul fight felt more like a show than a real battle? Was Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight fake? The fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson shocked fans in ways they never expected. As the match played out, many started asking a big question. Was this fight fake? Tyson, once known for his explosive power and lightning-fast moves, didn't look like the same fighter in the ring. His punches seemed weak and his movements were slow. Fans who had watched Tyson dominate the boxing world for years couldn't believe their eyes. Was Tyson really trying to win, or was something else going on?
The Tyson leg, so he couldn't, his balance was off.
Oh, that's crazy. You noticed that. I just talked to his trainer and he told me that exact thing.
Yeah.
His balance was off.
His balance was off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. You know, overall, like, how do you see Jake growing from this, and who do you want to see him fight against?
As the fight went on, fans began to notice something strange. Tyson, the man who used to knock opponents out with ease, wasn't landing any powerful blows. His punches didn't have the force they used to, and his footwork seemed sluggish. It was as if Tyson wasn't the same fighter who had once been unstoppable. For many fans, it felt like something wasn't right. Was Tyson just holding back, or was he simply going through the motions? It was hard to ignore the feeling that the fight wasn't as real as it seemed. Then rumors started to spread. Some fans claimed they had heard whispers that the fight was planned. They said that Jake Paul was supposed to win by decision in the 5th round. The idea of a scripted fight seemed unbelievable at first, but as the match continued, more and more fans started to question what they were seeing. Tyson wasn't fighting like he used to. Jake Paul, on the other hand, seemed to be in control the whole time. It was almost as if Tyson was letting him win. Was this fight really about skill, or was it just part of a bigger show? The way the fight unfolded made fans even more suspicious. Tyson didn't seem to have the hunger or the fire that he used to have in the ring. He wasn't attacking Paul the way fans expected. Instead, he seemed almost disinterested, as if the fight didn't matter to him. When Tyson took punches from Jake Paul without reacting the way a real fighter would, it made many fans wonder if Tyson was letting him land those hits on purpose. Why wasn't Tyson defending himself? Why wasn't he trying to knock Paul out? The more fans watched, the more they started to believe the fight wasn't real. Jake Paul, despite being a much younger and less experienced fighter, was dominating the action. Tyson seemed to be moving slowly, almost as if he was avoiding taking control. It felt wrong to see Tyson, the former champion, acting so passive in the ring. Fans were left confused. Why wasn't Tyson being aggressive? Why wasn't he fighting with everything he had? The longer the fight went on, the more it felt like Tyson was just going through the motions, following some kind of script. The rumors of a scripted fight didn't just come from fans watching the match. Leading up to the fight, the entire event had felt like a big performance. The press conferences, the promotional videos, it all seemed designed to build excitement, but not for the fight itself. It was as if the fight was only part of a much bigger show, a show meant to entertain rather than to test two fighters' skills in the ring. Fans started to wonder if they were watching a boxing match or a scripted spectacle. Was the whole thing just a way to make money, a way to entertain people and get them to pay for the pay-per-view? The idea of a real, honest fight seemed to disappear as the fight went on. At the end of the day, the question of whether the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight was fake or real is still up in the air. Some fans are convinced it was all staged, while others believe it was just a bad performance from Tyson. Was the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight just the beginning of Jake's quest to dominate boxing, or was it all part of his plan to call out bigger names like Canelo Alvarez? Jake Paul's next move calls out Canelo and more. After Jake Paul's controversial win over Mike Tyson, the social media star turned boxer made headlines again by calling out some of the biggest names in the sport. His bold statements and confidence reached new heights when he set his sights on Canelo Alvarez, the famous boxing champion. Paul, eager to prove himself, declared that he was ready to take on Canelo and show the world that he could defeat the best, declaring his intention to become the true face of boxing. His call to action wasn't just about Tyson, it was about proving that he belonged at the top of the sport. Canelo Alvarez, one of boxing's most accomplished and respected figures, was at the center of Paul's target. Canelo's legacy is built on years of dominance in the ring, earning him the title of one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in the world. However, Jake Paul, with his ever-growing bravado, claimed that he could take down the Mexican champion and prove that he had what it took to reign supreme in boxing. For Paul, this wasn't just about fighting for the sake of it, it was about asserting himself as the face of the sport. "I'm coming for Canelo," Paul said, challenging the champion directly and signaling his intention to disrupt the boxing world. Paul's challenge to Canelo wasn't the only bold move he made after his victory over Tyson. He also responded to a challenge from Artur Beterbiev, a dangerous and highly respected light heavyweight champion. Beterbiev had made his own claim to the title of the top fighter, but Jake Paul wasn't intimidated. In fact, he welcomed the challenge, claiming that he ran the sport and was ready to prove it in the ring. Paul's refusal to back down from these major opponents showed his determination to stay in the spotlight and keep pushing for the biggest matchups possible. His confidence, while often seen as arrogance, was fueling his drive to stay relevant in the conversation about the top fighters in boxing. The mix of bold statements, challenges to top fighters, and a refusal to be intimidated by the doubts of fans and experts alike created a thrilling narrative around Jake Paul's boxing career. He was more than just a YouTube personality, he was quickly becoming a polarizing figure in the world of boxing, a man who wasn't afraid to call out legends and make a name for himself. With each call-out, Jake Paul was pushing the envelope, testing the boundaries of what people believed he could accomplish in the ring. Whether he would ever step into the ring with Canelo or Beterbiev was still uncertain, but one thing was clear. Jake Paul was determined to be more than just a viral sensation. He wanted to prove he could be a legitimate force in the sport of boxing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned for more updates, and we'll see you in the next one.